Science Unscripted.
Hey everyone, Science Unscripted here. A few episodes back, we did a deep dive into toxic masculinity and the science behind it.
The voice missing from that report was somebody who actually publishes toxically masculine content online. We had reached out to about 10 influencers. None of them got back to us until after that report came out. And then we got an email.
We got an email from Stirling Cooper, and he has a huge following online. He posts content that is toxically masculine. And before we show you our interview with him here in studio, I just want to define what toxic masculinity is based on decades of research. This is content that reinforces the idea that boys and men have to be tough, they have to be strong, aggressive, in control, emotionally stoic, compulsively heterosexual, and that they basically have to avoid anything that's feminine. That is exactly the kind of stuff that Stirling Cooper posts online.
It abounds online. The name Andrew Tate comes to mind, and it's something that we wanted to let you guys confront with this interview. We normally don't publish interviews this long. This is a 30-minute interview with Stirling Cooper, but we found that it's important and it's difficult to watch.
Science Unscripted.
Okay, let's just get into it. Hello and welcome to Science Unscripted. Conor here.
And Gabe?
And we are joined today in studio by Stirling Cooper. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Stirling, you are an adult film actor, or you have been in the past. You are a self-described bedroom intimacy coach.
Yes.
But the reason we have you here today is because we believe, and I think a lot of people out there believe, that you post toxically masculine content online, and that possibly you are toxically masculine. That's our first.
I think, we have to ask the question: are you a toxically masculine man?
I would advocate the opposite position, that I am, in fact, not toxically masculine. I would say I'm positively masculine.
What does that? Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, I'd say that every aspect of masculinity or male-female polarity that I preach or try to teach my students, try to teach people I educate, is designed to improve the relationships between men and women.
A lot of the things you say in your videos are it's not. It doesn't seem like it's to improve the relationship between men and women. It's to improve men's position with regard to women.
Well, you know what's interesting is that I think that in our modern society, men have been very much underappreciated. I think it's very common for men to be underappreciated. I think it's very common for men to be made to feel like they have no inherent worth. And so when you look back on society as a whole, you look back, hundreds of years, thousands of years, whatever that might be, there was a harmony between the sexes, a harmony between men and women. And I think we've lost that a lot.
I don't know if we have, and I don't have the ability to look back that far, if I'm honest with you. I don't have the historical basis to even dissect that claim or to even talk about it. It's just, I mean, why do you think that when we're doing our research and looking around and finding toxically masculine influencers that we arrive at you?
I don't know. It's your conclusion, not mine.
Well, within the last 24 hours, though.
Okay, this is something you shared. I don't think you created that content, but within the last 24 hours, and I'll have to describe the image because I'm not even sure we can show this.
It's a woman with an apron on, and it's a meme, and it says that
it's a joke.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
But it says a real woman cleans off the
genitalia.
The genitalia of after a long night of cheating.
So after the guy has cheated, he comes home and she cleans him up. That's the meme, and then there's a checkbox, true or false, and what's checked there is true.
Well, that would be you. If it's not checked, it doesn't seem like it's checked to me. There's no check on it. So if it was checked, it would be you guys that checked it.
No.
If it's shown checked,
I
it would
assume
be you
because
guys
it was
that checked
green.
it. True.
That's the way we saw the content.
What's the joke? Why is that
The
funny?
joke is that it's deliberately controversial.
In order to make the relationship between men and women
the
better?
joke is that it's absurd. That's the essence of basically all jokes. Is that they're absurd.
But not that one's different. That's
Okay.
that's that.
If you say so, my assertion is that it's just a joke, and I have plenty of women replying in my DMs saying, the same, that it is a joke, and they understand that it's a joke.
It reinforces a stereotype or a cliche about a very submissive woman in a relationship with a man who is not in the same position of power he is. I wouldn't call that a joke. I would call that toxically masculine content.
How is a woman not in a position of power when she literally has her hands on the most sensitive part of a man? How is that not in a position of power?
Who's just betrayed her trust?
Rewind. How is she not in power there? If she literally has her hands on his most and every man knows that is the most sensitive part of his body. If she literally has her hands on it, how is that not a position of power?
She's supposed to be cleaning it, wearing an apron as if she were in the kitchen, as if this were the 1950s.
In the actual situation, she has her hands on it. So
we could dissect this one forever. It's one example, and this you shared this in the last 24 hours. Networks of toxically masculine content being shared online are being consumed in the hundreds of millions and billions. I know you yourself on your YouTube channel, multiple millions of views every single month, and this is. It's being consumed. It's changing. This is the most recent example, and I'll have to show it to you. I don't know if you've heard of this guy before. I certainly had not. His name is Sneako. I don't know if that says something to you. And he's from the U.S., and this is a guy who I would also group in the similar category, posting online content that objectifies women and tells men how to treat them in a very dramatic way. In this case, also anti-homophobic. Or I'm sorry, in this case, homophobic, and where he's confronted by a couple fans.
I think I've seen this clip. This was Twitter recently, right?
What did you say? The woman!
What? No, wait.
Sneako.
We love women. We love women.
But not like transgenders.
Yes, sir. We love everybody.
Okay.
No.
All gays should.
Yeah, merch, preach. What have I done?
Can I get in the video? Get tall.
Can I get in the video? Yeah. Talk to him.
Yeah, so it's a clip showing a somewhat
13, 14, 15-year-old boy who is trying to desperately to his idol explain what he's learned, and he's looking for recognition that he's learned it right.
No.
Right, or what?
No, that's not it. That's not it.
What?
It's a young kid being a kid. It's a young kid being inflammatory because that's what teenage boys do.
he's parroting.
All gays should die.
He's
again.
That's not a.
Is that a joke?
Did he say that? He didn't say that. He didn't say exactly.
He said
that.
all gays should die.
I don't think
he said gays should die. F women, I believe, and F transgender. Now, the context of this clip, the way it's understood online, is that these three teenage boys, they are just teenage boys, but where are they getting this vocabulary? And why do they approach this YouTube? Actually, he's been banned from YouTube.
Yeah.
He's on a separate platform. And
yeah, Sneako's on Rumble. I know Sneako personally. I know this guy.
Oh, okay.
But so that's like, for a start, you see him.
He seemed horrified at what his teachings have done.
For a start, you see him saying like, whoa, that's not what we're preaching. He says it himself.
Yeah, but there you see the effect of said preaching.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, but it's
that's
not-
what's happening
Again.
because of the jokes and
Again,
the frivolity that he's publishing.
I can't in good faith, like I can't put words in Sneako's mouth, and it's not fair for me to sit here and try to interpret what he means. It's not fair. Okay. All I can say is that when I look at that clip, I see teenage boys being teenage boys, and I'm sure you two at some point, despite what you will say right now, I'm sure when you were teenage boys, you said some racy things in a locker room because they were funny. And I'm certain that's what those boys are doing. I do not believe in my
But
heart of hearts.
I didn't go to my mentor.
One second.
Yeah.
I do not believe in my heart of hearts that those boys actually mean, those young teenage boys actually mean.
I feel bad. I
don't think they actually mean what they're saying.
I feel bad for those boys because this clip is on the internet now. It may come to haunt them later. I will fully admit. I think most.
But you know what?
We'll come back to it. We'll come back. Let me finish this thought, Sterling.
Why
Let me
would
finish
somebody
this thought.
haunt them? Why would somebody haunt them? Who would go after a teenage boy in the first place?
It's a separate discussion.
No, it's very relevant to what we're talking about. It's very relevant.
To finish my thought, everyone who was younger once can think of a foolish thing they said. That's not the issue. The difference is, in my childhood, I didn't have access to content like yours. It was not in a technological.
You're trying to conflate my content with what these boys just said for a start. You literally just did that.
These boys walk up, and the first thing they mention is the Godhead's name of the whole toxic masculinity online network. This is Andrew Tate. That's the first thing they say. Now they're walking up to a guy who they connect with him. I don't know why that's the case. And the reason I'm connecting it to you is because on your website, you link to Tate's. You still have a link up on there to his, I'm not even going to name it because I'm not going to send people there, to his educational program. Okay? So that is why I do group you together with someone you say you know personally and with somebody you link to on your site. These boys have consumed probably some of that content, I don't know where, and they have this vocabulary because of it, and I can't believe you don't see that as problematic.
They don't get that vocabulary because of an association with people like me, or Sneako, or Andrew.
Then why do they walk up to this guy and say those names and say those things?
I'm saying they're being inflammatory and outrageous because that's what teenage boys do. And if you were to be honest with me right now and think back to your actual teenage years, you would agree with me.
I've said that. I've said everyone.
I didn't
everyone
have
does that.
mentors who were teaching me that.
They're literally not teaching them that. They're literally no. I guarantee you cannot find a school or like in Sneako's group or in Andrew's group or in any of my groups, any like a module or lesson where it says, "Hey guys, this is where we call women blah. This is where we say death to all these people." That does not exist at all on the face of the earth. So to pretend that it does, pretend that we are teaching these people that is ridiculous, man.
So the fault is with the kid.
I'm
not calling the kid at fault. I'm just saying he's a teenage boy. To try and pretend that a teenage boy has like let's say however we said that kid was like 12, 13, whatever it is, right? To pretend that like a 12, 13-year-old boy has the full faculties of an adult man.
That's exactly the issue.
Is not true for a start. It's not true.
But he's consuming ideas from an adult man who's saying those things. You see what I'm saying? Like I grew up with 28 channels on TV. This stuff, your content, Andrew Tate's content wasn't on it. And now it is. And now it's changing how young men, and we're going to talk, this is young men, we're going to talk about women later. It's changing how they think.
Question. Do you still believe in the Easter Bunny? Question. Yes or no?
No.
Yes or no? Yes or no? Do you still believe in the Easter Bunny?
Well, I kind of have to. I've got 3 young girls at home.
But do you personally believe in the Easter Bunny?
Come on.
Is that yes or no?
That was a no.
That's German for no? Okay, sorry. I thought it was 9.
I said come on.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so you don't believe in the Easter Bunny. When you were a kid, you believed in the Easter Bunny. You thought that thing was real. And then you changed your mind as you grew up, as you became an independent thinker and you were able to criticize.
Yeah, but well
So
before the age of 13.
Hold on. You're saying these boys are
Really?
You're saying these boys, they may believe it now, but they'll change later.
They are entitled to make their own conclusions
I watched
about the world.
one of your videos. I can't remember the names. This network is so huge, I can't remember all the names. And you sat down with 3 guys. Do you know what I'm going to say?
I don't know. Go.
Where you compared the red pill, or you were talking about the red pill, the idea that you take in this, it's not literally a red pill, but you get new information or new sources of knowledge that fundamentally and somewhat radically alter your perspective on the world. That this in this case, we're talking about this kind of.
It's a small pill when you're young, and the older you get, the bigger that suppository becomes.
I use the analogy that it's a suppository.
And that if you wait until you're older, the suppository is bigger, and it's harder to shove inside of your rear end. Now
I think it's a pretty good analogy. To be honest.
It's a strong visual. I'll give you that much. But now you're saying the opposite. What you were saying. No. What you were saying there very clearly is that you need to indoctrinate them. You need to teach them these. You didn't
do
say.
Not put words in my mouth saying I have said you need to indoctrinate me.
The earlier you get the truth, the red suppository, the earlier you get the truth, the more aware of it you will be.
The red pill is like a suppository, like the pill that goes up your butt.
Yeah.
And the older you get, the bigger the suppository is.
Yeah.
So like if you're a young guy, it's like it's a tiny little suppository. Boop, not that big a deal.
Yeah.
If you're like a 60-year-old man and you learn this stuff, suppositories like this. You know, it becomes a lot harder to accept all these truths because you've spent your whole life with a worldview that's completely inaccurate.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just like you're trying to resist against the truth, really.
I want to go back to where you seem to think, and correct me because I don't want to put words in your mouth. I want to know if I understand you correctly. Where you seem to think that it does not matter if your content or other content like it causes young men in their teens to use terminology that is very, very scary for the minority groups who are the target of it. That it doesn't matter because just like the Easter Bunny, they're going to grow up and get out of it, and that you therefore have, you can wash your hands of it.
You know what? Sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Come on,
it is. It literally is. It literally is.
What about my question?
And for a start, I don't tell anyone to use slanderous labels like that. I don't. You cannot find any piece of content of mine where I tell guys to use, derogatory terms. I tell people specifically use derogatory terms like that. That content does not exist for a start.
You're not, but you're connected in various ways to the men who do.
You're connecting me.
You link on your site to Andrew Tate.
Whether or not I'm friends, and he doesn't say that either. Andrew does not. I know the man personally.
He says the most extreme misogynistic comments that
Have you actually listened to any of his recent interviews?
I've heard enough clips to know.
I've heard enough. That's all. You've just said all I need to know. You've said I've heard enough. No. You just said I've heard enough clips. That tells me you haven't actually sat down and watched any of his long-form 2-3 hour long live streams where he is actually telling you exactly what he thinks, responding to chats online, and instead you're taking your assumption of him and his character based off something that was clipped up out of context from something long form. You just told me that.
It's unfortunate that a colleague of ours, Anna Katrin, is not here right now. She did most of the research for the piece, the recent piece on toxic masculinity that we did. And she spent a week, she did a deep dive into Andrew Tate and told us in the studio that I asked her how she was doing, and that she said that she was afraid of the future. And we also spoke with an expert, a psychologist out of the University of Rhode Island. And what we wanted to do when we found out that you were going to come talk to us, I wanted to throw a couple clips at her, and get her response
To your content.
because she's an actual psychologist. She knows what she's talking about, in opposition to what I don't know all the answers. I just wanted to see her reaction to what you put out there, and this is what she said. This is Miriam Lindner 1.
The fact that male intimidation of women has worked for so long is reflected in our, mechanisms for staying safe, which we see anecdotally plenty of times when we're at a bar and a guy asks us for a number and we don't want to give it out, but we do give them our number because we're afraid that if we reject them blatantly, especially in the presence of other men where he could feel humiliated, right? We want to make it home safe and alive. And we know from the literature that women prefer men who are in the long term going to keep them safe and who are kind and compassionate and communicative, because that is what is needed for effective child rearing, right?
The clip that I shared with Miriam was the 11-minute video on, I believe, Facebook, where you said why being toxically masculine makes you better and better, more desirable, more attractive to women. And
which ties into a point there about feeling safe. By the way, sorry to interrupt you.
that was the paradox that I wanted to talk to you about. So being strong,
which is a paradox,
appearing as strong and dominating a woman does not, in her eyes, does not make her feel safe.
Well, she literally,
it makes her feel afraid.
At the very end of her sentence, she literally said the opposite to that. She said that women want. She
said that she does not want to be with a strong.
At the
man.
end of the sentence, she said that women want to be with a guy who's strong and protects her family.
Not strong, but protects her.
Yes.
Not necessarily.
How do I protect you if I'm not strong? If I am weak, how can I possibly protect you? How can I possibly protect you?
We're not talking about the characteristic of strength now, but being dominating a woman, forcing them to do things.
No, dominance is not forcing anyone to do anything. It isn't. In the context in which I use that word, we go back again, but in the sexual context, when you use the word dominance does not mean forcing anyone to do anything. If anyone actually knows anything about let's dive in really quickly into the BDSM community, right? The kink community, the dom sub dynamic. If you ever talk to anyone from that community, they will verify exactly what I'm saying right now, which is that the submissive actually has all the power. In a dom sub dynamic, the submissive is the one that has the power, because the submissive is the one that permits the dominant and requests the dominant to do things to them.
Yeah, but she was saying there that she submits if she does submit out of fear.
Well, again, I think...
She didn't say that.
No.
She didn't say that.
No.
The example of giving the number, she gave the...
So
in
again,
a bar,
that's not submitting out of fear. That's just getting rid of an annoying guy.
No.
That's not submitting. That's just getting rid of an annoying person. The same.
She was saying
that's the female equivalent. That's the female equivalent of me getting rid of a guy who's like a beggar on the street, or a dude who's like trying to get me to donate to something I don't care about. That's me just dismissing them. That's not submitting.
This is
no.
dismissing
But
what
you don't give something of yours to that person, let's say your private personal phone number, because at the end of the day, there's the threat of physical violence that you would lose.
I mean, I don't give my money to someone who let's say, again, back to my example, I don't give my money to like someone who's coming up to me on the street, asking for a donation for something, for a cause I don't care about, for the purposes of like not wanting to feel like a sucker, right?
I'm talking about your physical safety.
Yeah, but I'm making a comparison between men and women. Like a man will do the same thing. I don't think. No, I don't. I really doubt that people will be in direct physical violence in a, let's say if the context is we're in a bar where lots of people we're not alone in an alleyway, right? We're not the only person in a bar. We're in a bar where there's lots of people socializing, mingling, and some person comes up to me and they don't get the number or whatever. If that led to physical violence, that a lot of people, you know what's going to happen,
dude?
Though?
If the ideology, if the ideology that men should be dominant,
who's going to deal with the violence? If that, let's say hypothetically, if that scenario actually happened, who would deal with the violence? It's going to be the big, strong, masculine bouncer who's going to come in and choke the guy out.
I think
that's what's going to happen.
I think this is a strongman's fantasy. It's
not. Go try it.
Look, no,
who's going to get choked out? Like if the dude actually
that's
gets violent with a woman who rejected him, what's going to happen?
He follows. Her to her car. He follows her on the bus.
What should happen is either the bouncer or any man watching it should knock the guy out. In my opinion, if he's acting like a dickhead, sorry to swear on your podcast, if he's acting like a insufferable person, and he's becoming physically aggressive towards a woman, he should be dealt with by other men and gotten rid of, but out of the scenario.
You're ignoring.
How's that ignoring anything?
You're ignoring mostly the victim of all this, and I think it kind of fits. To me, you've established a pattern here, and the pattern is that if the kind of content you're posting, or that other people in your network of what I would call toxic masculinity content makers post content that leads women to feel physically unsafe because of some of the tactics that you encourage men to employ at a bar, establishing dominance, or because something else.
What does that tactic look like? Please describe to me what that looks like. Because you're making it sound like it's the way you just did that. You're like establishing dominance. Like I'm telling guys to walk up into a bar and do this.
Confidently approaching a woman, taking control of the situation and the conversation.
What's wrong with that? What is that sentence you just said? Please tell me what's wrong with that. Please tell me which woman does not. Tell me a woman that does not want a man to approach her confidently. Calmly.
The common theme is that all of these scenarios, the way that you talk about women, the way that you tell men to behave with women, treats them as a two-dimensional object who just have to be like receptive to whatever crap you're putting on them. And then if that you're laughing, and
I'm laughing
because if that behavior makes them feel unsafe, like actually scared for their safety,
then he should recognize that and stop.
He should stop posting that kind of content.
No, he should. If a man walks up to a woman and she is not receptive to his approach, he should walk away.
It all comes back to that central question for me, that if you are considered from the outside by people whose job it is to research these kinds of things, online trends, online content, toxic masculinity. If a researcher,
is that a surprise to you?
An evolutionary psychologist,
that he sees it that way.
Yeah, actually, yeah,
it is.
But our evolutionary psychologist that we happen to interview, she sees it that way. A guy who's been studying toxic masculinity for decades sees it exactly that way. And you dismiss it, and you seem to dismiss the concerns that this is going to negatively affect young men who are growing up consuming this content. And for me, the biggest concern, the fear that it instills in women that this is the world is changing in this direction with every share, with every like, with every post.
Because you know what, the young men I've met, because I have a as my audience is growing, I get recognized every now and then, and the young men that I have met who have know me through my material or who have consumed these other guys, like Sneako's material, Andrew's material, whatever, every single one of them is hitting the gym, working on himself, trying to be more competent, trying to be a better man, trying to be a protector and a provider for his family, take care of his mother. Like, these are all amazing young boys. So I'm just seeing the opposite of what you're describing. I'm literally seeing them face to face. If you're like, you say you or women are concerned about what's going to happen, I'm here to tell you, you've got nothing to be concerned about, because the young men I'm meeting who are consuming the content you're so worried about are amazing young men who are doing nothing but good and are trying to protect their family and their loved ones. That's all I have to say.
Yet domestic abuse or violence against women, according to a study that came out this year in Germany, is on the rise. As a matter of fact, 1 in 3 German men see it as okay that they're, what is it, the term? That they forget themselves and
that your hand slips. It was
1 in 3.
Is that a German phrase?
It was a.
Is that literally a German
Die
phrase?
Hand rutscht.
Yeah,
Hand ausrutscht.
Holy crap.
The study or the survey was criticized for
serious,
using
man.
For using a euphemism.
Yeah.
They were talking at the very least about a slap, about slapping your female partner, and possibly more. It wasn't clear from the language.
Also, homophobia. 50% were uncomfortable in the presence of a gay man or a homosexual. Yeah.
And do you share our concerns? It feels like out of nowhere.
I don't see. So like the concern, if I'm understanding you correctly, the concern is that there's that women should be afraid and men are turning bad. To encapsulate it.
Yes.
Succinctly. I don't think that's happening. From, again, what I said before, from my personal experience from meeting people who've consumed either my content or content of other people who, I'm associated with, I just see men who are working on themselves to be better and to help their family and their loved ones. That's what I personally see. So,
is it also possible that you're biased because it helps you not to see it?
Maybe the best people come up to me. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
If you believe,
again, it's hard to I can't.
If you believe your content is causing harm, then it forces you to some tough conclusions, some of which might cost you.
But my intention is not to cause harm, and neither is the intention of any of my friends. Their intention is not to cause harm.
And it's happening inadvertently.
I don't think it's their cause. No. I mean, specifically talking about the study you just referenced here in Germany, I don't think it has anything to do with it.
With the posting of content online, nothing.
With me, with any of my immediate social circle, I don't think it has anything to do with them.
Yeah. I will go ahead and bring this to an end.
Very interesting conversation.
Sterling, I should say thank you for joining us in studio today.
Thank you for being so respectful, both of you. It's been a very respectful conversation.
Were you expecting anything else?
No. I mean, I wasn't expecting this. I'll say that. I wasn't expecting
was
this.
it too combative or?
It's not what I expected. Let's just say that.
Okay.
But very respectful. So I appreciate that.
I think it's an important conversation. I'm glad we've had it. And yeah, again, thank you for coming in.
Pleasure.
Science Unscripted.
So that was our long talk with Stirling Cooper. And part of the reason it went the way it did is because there isn't science on this. There really isn't. And the reason for that is what you can't do as a scientist is bring young men, young boys into a lab and force toxic content on them. It's bad for them. You're not allowed to do that in any situation. You can't do it in this situation with toxically masculine content.
What you can do is compare kids that know content like this, online misogyny, to kids who don't. There is a survey on that. The Women's Aid domestic abuse charity based in the UK, they asked 1,000 kids. Around half of them knew content like Andrew Tate's or Stirling Cooper's. And the ones that did know that content, it was twice as likely that those kids said that in a relationship, there should be one person who is always dominant. And it was 5 times more likely for those kids to think that it's okay to hurt someone physically if you say sorry.
Again, correlation, not necessarily causation.
And only a survey.
And only a survey at this point. But this is how little we know about how this is affecting mostly young boys and young men, and obviously the women who then see this changed behavior. It's a big open question. I think one of the open questions that's still out there for Gabe and me is whether we should even air this kind of content, this interview? Does it contribute to the problem, or does it confront the problem and expose the thinking behind it? I mean this. That's an open question we have for you.
I think it does, because think about it. If Conor and I were journalists and we don't even know how to deal with a guy like Stirling Cooper, then how is a young 13-year-old boy who runs into his content or content like it online, how is he supposed to deal with it?
Should there be rules, regulations? We don't know. Maybe you know. Please let us know. And thank you for watching.